Well, I think we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the COVID-19 update through National REIA. We're glad to see everybody here today. I know that people are still joining in, so we're going to go ahead and get started with a few announcements here in the beginning. But just want to let you know as well, I'm Ryan Coleman, President of National REIA, and I want to welcome everybody today to the COVID-19 update. For our panelists today, we're having, back by popular demand, Charles Tassel, our COO. If there's any updates on legislation, he is the man that has his finger on the pulse of Washington and will give us that information today. And then we're going to have one of our favorite national speakers and educators and investors, Tony Youngs. He's going to be talking a little bit today about what's going on with the real estate market as somebody that is very experienced in real estate. So we're going to hear that from Tony today. And then we have a special guest, Tyler Johnston. He is the sales manager at IDI. IDI is one of the leading data companies in the world. We've actually been partnering with them at the Broward Real Estate Investor Association here in South Florida for a while. And we are now have a very exciting announcement today of our partnership with National REIA and IDI. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Executive Director, Rebecca McLean.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Again, we want to thank Home Depot Pro. They are the sponsor of this broadcast and our major sponsor for National REIA. They have developed special programs for investors that are just for National REIA. They're exclusive programs to us. They include everything from discounts on paint up to 20% off at the register, rebates on your purchases, and other exclusive programs. You can find out more about that by visiting with your local group, or you can also contact us here at National REIA and we can tell you more about that. We at National REIA are a nonprofit association, been around for over 35 years now, and our mission is to promote the industry, protect the industry and those in it, and to educate those about real estate investing. And we're so happy to do so and so thankful that you've joined us here today. We also appreciate your local membership and your support. It's very important during this time that we continue to support each other. Things are going to change, and being connected is going to be one of the more important things that you can do to have success in your business right now. On those lines, we want to really quickly put a poll up. These have been weekly webinars at this point to let you know about the updates on COVID. We hope that some of those changes are going to come to at least a lesser degree over time. And we want to make sure that we are fulfilling what your needs are and bringing those to you in a way that you need them and you want them. So this poll is to ask, do you want to continue on a weekly basis? Would you prefer to go to a bi-weekly basis, or do you want to be at monthly? So it looks like right now we're going to go to bi-weekly. So at this point, what we're going to say is next week we will take a break, and then we will be back to you. Is that the 15th? Am I correct, guys? Somebody give me a nod that that is 2 weeks from now. Okay. If
May 22nd.
Thank you. May 22nd. So we will be back to you May 22nd, and Lori will continue to send notifications to you so that you can sign up for those. So thank you so much for letting us know your preferences. I also wanted to give you the link to a great article through Inman. Please know it was correct at the moment they published it, but as you know, this kind of information continues to change. This is a map, and they give a great breakdown on what's opening across the country and how things are rolling out in different states. Please keep in mind, and Charles is going to tell you again, that just because it has given, the governor has given direction at the state level, some of those counties and cities may have something different, but this is a great overview. I think you may have to have a payment to them to see the entire article. If you have a friend that's a realtor, they may have access to Inman, but it's an excellent article if you want to take advantage of that. As for us, we will continue updating our COVID information on the COVID page of our website. to stay connected to your local REIA group, where they will give you information about what's happening locally. If you aren't already a member, please make sure that you take advantage of the opportunity to become a member at the local level. If you're curious about how to get in touch with your local, you can come to the National REIA website, click there on Find a REIA, and it will take you to your access to your local. We will continue to update the COVID-19 page. You can get to it through the red button here, as long as there are updates that are vital to you on that page. It looks a little bit like this, and we will continue to keep that refreshed for you. Just to let you know, as far as I know, no one on this call that is in the presenter seat today is an attorney or a CPA. So if there is legal information or if there is financial information that is going to be specific to you and your business, you're going to need to check with your local professional to get that information and to do what's best for you and your business. But now I'm going to turn things over to Charles Tassel to let him bring you up to date on any of the changes to what's happening federally and what you can be watching out for state and locally.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Ryan. You know, it's interesting right now. We're in this time of, we're starting to see governors kind of back off a little bit of doing these daily updates and starting to open things up. And the chaos is almost worse in a sense, because now we're at, okay, when do we actually open, and what actually means open, and how many people does that mean, and what do I do? And so on the reopening side of things, I really want to encourage folks, pay attention very closely to what's going on. And that's going to change. The fluidity of this is going to change. And don't think it's just going to be fluid for the next couple of weeks. It's going to be fluid for the next several months at the very least. And the reason I say that is, even as the federal government was encouraging the states to open up as they believed it was appropriate, they're encouraging the states to open up by county as appropriate. So if a county is not seeing infection levels, if they're not seeing outbreaks, open up. But if they start to see outbreaks, to close back down. So you're going to see some areas opening up, some areas shutting back down periodically. Don't be surprised by that over the next several months. So make sure you've got redundancies built in. You've got extra plans just in case. Keep your ear, to the health departments, and really the health department more so than the reporters. Now, there are a number of good reporters out there at the local level that are getting good information and trying to share it, but make sure you read the actual health department rules and regulations. As a business, you want to make sure you're following that, especially when it comes to the principles they're laying out. If they say, here's how you should be engaging the media or engaging the public, make sure that you're following those principles in your business and be able to document how you're following those principles in your business. That's going to be very important. So let me kind of touch on the federal side of things right now. Things are slowing down a little bit at the federal level. There's a little bit of strategizing, planning, trying to figure out, okay, how much money do we release, how quickly to the states, how much money to the individuals, to businesses. There's discussion about a second round of stimulus funds, possibly funds even to the end of the year. Folks, it's an election year, so as one friend said, expect the cotton candy to continue for a little while. It will probably continue because nobody wants to be the bad guy who says no. Now, on the other side of that, there's a debt and a deficit that are growing, and we have other people saying, no, we've got to stop. So that discussion is occurring and continuing to go forward. I would expect that to continue over the next couple of weeks, in part because there's going to be a response on the federal side based on how quickly or if there are any increases in infections in states that open up, or if they continue to have cases that they can handle, their systems don't get overwhelmed, they don't have to shut back down, then this is going to be a full steam ahead, get the businesses opened up, and we're not going to be shutting things down again, so the government doesn't need to get involved anymore. CARES 2 is still coming forward, and one of the pieces that we are hearing about quite a bit is a couple aspects. One is additional funding for PPP and the EIDL loans. Small Business Administration is moving through those. Some people I'm getting reports are actually, they've been getting their EIDL loan initial dollars through. and they're now hearing from SBA about loans and what the options are. I'm hearing from a couple different areas that those are starting to come through. They're going to be different in different regions. There's about 10 different regions for SBA. So I'm not sure how overloaded your SBA is in your region. So you may be a little ahead of the curve. You may be a little behind the curve on it. So just stay in touch with your bank, stay in touch with the SBA, and by all means, check your spam filter for SBA going in there, because there's a lot of false stuff on SBA. So Google and some of the accounts and quarantine efforts are actually capturing SBA and throwing it into spam. So just a heads up on that. Part of what we're trying to do in CARES 2 is also make sure that there's a section in there for rental assistance, because making sure our renters can actually pay their bills is a key piece to this. That is something we have our voter voice up on our website, and I'm sure Lori will have that up there momentarily with a link to it. But if you go to our legislative section with the Action Center, very easy to support it. Send in an email. It's a pre-drafted letter. Folks, this is how grassroots works. The congressmen want to know if somebody in their district is actually impacted by this and does it actually affect them. This is how we do that. So please encourage you, even while you're on this, just go to it, click on it, and you can get the information you need to send off an email real easily. And it very much helps, because one of the things in CARES 2 that they're working on, Senator McConnell was just talking about this, is the liability aspect. So we're doing cleaning, we're doing emergency responses. We know that as businesses, we're essential, whether it's on the construction side, the reconstruction side, we have maintenance folks going in. All of those are essential. But at what point do I go, this is a problem, or do I have a resident come in and say, hey, I was in your property, and after I was in your property and I toured it, I got sick, and the liability side of that. So this is one where they're looking at in CARES 2, actually putting in there, because tracking down that vector would be very hard, and there could be a huge amount of frivolous lawsuits out there. And once one person files one, you'll see more and more and more. So the idea is let's make this so it doesn't become frivolous lawsuit center and businesses get overloaded. Much more likely to happen on the restaurant side, but it can still happen to us, especially if you have a unit you're showing, you want to sell something and you've got it open, and you have an open house. Wow, now you've got a complication. So those are kinds of things that CARES 2 will also address. So we're trying to push on getting that done. On a good note, and I'll ask for stories on this, but rents right now have been coming in, and from what I'm hearing from around the country right now, rents are pretty consistent with what they were in April. And in some areas, I'm actually hearing kind of earlier payment and quicker payment, because between stimulus funds and unemployment, those who have gotten their funds, they're ready to pay them, they're making their payments. There was a great story that came out of Southern Illinois of actually somebody who had actually written $100 more than their rent to help other people who couldn't cover their rent. Again, that's a great story, and people are stepping up and really helping each other out. So I encourage to continue doing that. But as you have good stories like that, if you have a good workout, or if you have something that's egregiously bad, make sure you share that story not only with your REIA leader, but also share it with us. We appreciate it. My email, charles@nationalrea.org. I love to hear those kind of stories, because when the press calls and says, so what are you hearing? Can you give me some stories of that? I'd love to be able to share that. So if you have something like that, please share it with me. I greatly appreciate it. Finally, I want to mention this to you. On the reopening, this is going to go at the county level, and you're going to see the changes coming, but hang in there, because even as we watched in China, and we're watching now in South America and Brazil, and the spikes are going through the roof right now, and people are trying to figure out what the best way to respond to some of these are. Be thankful that we live in the country that we didn't have to use even all of our hospitals. We live in one of the greatest countries on the face of the planet, and folks, we've been blessed. So make sure you're reaching out, take that attitude of blessing and share it with others, because folks, we're getting through this. Now, this is, as Winston Churchill said, this is not the beginning of the end, but it probably is the end of the beginning. So let's buckle down, be ready for a lot more change. We're going to have to pay attention, and it's going to be a wild ride. 2020 is going to be a crazy year. But the simple fact is, folks, we're making it through, and we can get through this. So if you need something specific, or if there's questions you have, please let us know. If you're hearing of great things or horrible things, let us know so we can figure out how we can help on those. With that, Rebecca, I'll turn it back over to you and wait for questions.
Thanks so much, Charles. As he was saying, one of the things that is starting to come out in news reports is not only the good news about rents staying somewhat stable. I put out the information in the chat. NMHC rent tracker is showing over 80% right now coming in on the rent side. Much better in the Midwest, not so much on the coast. That being said, on the housing side, they were talking about the effect for investors. And one of the reasons we came with the panelists that we have today is they're saying that demand is still driving. It might get rather interesting, though, on trying to find inventory. And they're talking about how you're still having new households made. You're still having things that are going to be pushing forward. We may have even more pent-up demand after this and people wanting to get out and into a home, but having a hard time finding it. And so keep a lookout for those. I know Brad runs stories all the time on real estate investing today. That'll probably be one of them coming up next week. And so we thought it would be really important to help you be prepared to find homes during what we believe is going to be an inventory, a little bit of an inventory shortage. And so today's panelists are going to include Tony Youngs, who is kind of our industry expert on the hidden market and finding those homes. And then he's going to introduce some new technology to you today as well that's super exciting to help you. But Tony, I'm going to hand it off to you. And can you let people know, you've traditionally had the expertise in finding homes that aren't necessarily on the market, so they're not having to battle it out with everybody else that's looking at the MLS to try to find those deals. So I'm going to pass it to you and let you tell them how to move forward and maybe get ahead of competition in this market.
Okay, Rebecca, thank you so much. And will I be able to share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You should at the bottom be able to.
Okay. All right. Just 1 second here. All right. First of all, I just want to say thank you to National REIA and Charles and Rebecca and Ryan and Lori for all you guys do and the entire staff. It's so wonderful to have these weekly calls or perhaps bi-weekly. And it's and even the the roundup that Lori sends out every week. It is such great information. So I just wanted to thank you guys for that. Also, I just wanted to say that my father wanted me to tell y'all hi. Most of you know him. He's usually on the cruises, but this is him in a glass cage in a nursing home. They only let us visit him through the glass, and he's still hanging tough. So, we got to keep him safe. All right. Well, the hidden market has always had basically these things here. The hidden market is how you find properties with no for sale signs. They're not on the internet. They're not on the MLS, not on Craigslist. They're just, most of the time the homeowner does not even know their house is for sale. So as most of you know, I've been a door knocker for the last 30 years because that's how I find good deals. There's a lot of hidden deals out there that nobody else knows can be bought, especially with no for sale signs. And so, right now, we've always had most of these in the hidden market, so it'll always be there. But this COVID-19 has caused a lot of people to be unemployed owners, or they're not allowed to work because it's essential, or they're going through a divorce, perhaps even from being cooped up inside with the stay-at-home orders, and deceased. and people filing bankruptcy during this time, and landlords not collecting rent. And of course, there's always code violations, because the hidden market is about driving through neighborhoods and looking for that house that has high grass, overgrown bushes. It could be occupied, but the people, there's just no pride of ownership. So I'm constantly looking and sending letters to people with no pride of ownership, because they may be suffering from these things, and they really do need our help, because us real estate investors, I believe we save the world. This is the third crisis I've been through. I went through the S&L crisis in '89. I went through the 2008 crisis. And also, this is a little bit similar. And so there's always a way, there's always a hidden market in good or bad times. And there's always a way that we investors can help people in their time of need. All three of those crises, if you look back, real estate investors were the ones that saved the day. Okay, so I want you to look at a typical neighborhood. This will just give you an idea. This is a typical neighborhood. Now, most of my career, I have gone through neighborhoods looking for that hidden market property. And I usually, if I go visit, if I see a foreclosure that is advertised, I drive the entire neighborhood and I find 3 or 4 other distressed houses, and those end up being very good deals with no competition. But there are actually some people right now, Rebecca, that are stuck in their homes and they're not allowed to go out. So how can you find the hidden market if your stay-at-home order really means stay at home? Well, I'm not in one of those type of states. It's a little bit lax here in Georgia, but there are some students around the nation where they'll get arrested or get in trouble for leaving their homes. So how could you work the hidden market without that? Well, if I was in one of those states, I would, well, first of all, before I go to the next slide, I just want to say, now I showed you the list of unemployed owners, people that aren't allowed to go to work. Do you think any of those people would be in this small radius out of all these houses in this quarter-mile radius? Do you think there's someone in here who might be unemployed? Do you think there might be someone in here who might be going through a divorce? Do you think there might be someone in here that is having to file bankruptcy because it's just not looking good for them? Do you think anybody in this small radius might pass away or be too old and need to move into a nursing home? So I just want to show that in this small area, there are those people, but we don't know who they are. There's nothing that tells us who those people are. So that's why I've always found those people, just by looking for no pride of ownership. But if I can't drive through these neighborhoods because of this crisis, I can go to my tax assessor's website. By the way, I know I just wanted to say that I thought Larry Goins did a great job last week, and he sends out a lot of mailers. But I like to condense it down. I like to invest in my own zip code around, within a 5-mile radius, and I can make a good living doing that. And so if I go to my tax assessor's website, and this works all over the nation, you just go to Google and put in your county name. So for instance, Cobb County Tax Assessor. And the first thing that comes up is usually your tax assessor website, and you can search by owner's names, not in all states, or you can search by address or parcel number. So if instead of putting an address in, I just put the street name. You see right here, I put Beckwith. That's the name of the street. And that brings up everybody on that street. And it has their names and addresses. So I can send letters to all those people if I can't leave my home. You know, like Larry had a nice postcard. Well, I've got a nice letter that says we practice social distancing and we could buy your home through the internet or over the phone if you'd like. You could take pictures of the inside for us. And there's a system called DocuSign where you can actually sell your home at a closing with internet documents. They do closings that way most of the time these days. So if I just put the name of a street, this gives me a whole list to try to find. Now, just this short list, there's got to be at least one who may be unemployed. There's got to be at least one who may be going through a divorce or something and need our help. So I'm going to go back, and then what you can do is you can look at your map from your home and get the names of these streets, and you can get the owners' names. So you could actually send a letter to everybody in this neighborhood by using your tax assessor website. Now, if you have a little money to spend, you can go to USPS.com. They have something called Every Door Direct Mail. And you can send, you can make flyers or letters, and the post office will actually deliver to every house in the neighborhood, if that's what you choose. Or you can do the whole zip code, or you can do, just a targeted area. I've always liked certain neighborhoods in my area, and I'm constantly, targeting those neighborhoods because I just like to be close enough to where I can constantly go over and check on the house or whatever. So this Every Door, I got to be honest, I have never used it. But it is a way that if I was stuck in my home and I'm not allowed to leave, I could still do the hidden market using a technique like that. Also, this, for the last 30 years, when I go through a neighborhood, I write down the addresses of every house that has no pride of ownership. And then I would do all my research, my title searches, my everything, and make notes and send letters to these people to see if they want to sell. And so because I've been doing that, I get an average of 30 hidden market addresses every week. And I've been doing that for years. So what I can do not everybody can do this yet, but what I could do if I was stuck in my own home, I could send letters to all these old leads. I could send letters to last month's leads. I could go back to the beginning of the year and get my whole list of January's distressed houses and send them a letter again. Also, I can call these people. If I get any calls off my letters from using the tax assessor or USPS.com, I use what's called IDI Core to get their phone numbers. And I think you're going to get a presentation on this today, but let me show you how beneficial it is to someone like myself, whether I'm stay at home or not. I can pull up the website and I can put in the owner's name, and then I can hit search, and then it'll bring up everything about it. Like, for instance, right here, this red D means this guy's divorced. So, I mean, he's deceased. I'm so sorry. But the D stands for deceased. Now, on this website, it tells me if he has any bankruptcies, any liens, any judgments, and that comes in really handy during this crisis because the courthouses are closed. In some states, I have to go to the actual courthouse to do title searches and find out if there's any liens. But this website, I can do it from my home. And then over here on the right side, it has every relative's name. And if I click on, well, first of all, before I click on one, I just want to show you that just the deceased man, it gives me every place he's lived in the past. It gives me every phone number. Of course, I don't think he's going to be able to answer today. So therefore, when you find a hidden market property that needs repair and it's sitting vacant, this is where I get all the relatives' names. And if I click on any one of these, like if I click on Randy Marmon, then it brings up Randy Marmon's address. It brings up all of his phone numbers. And, you know, of course, the one that says 2020, those are the ones that are the most recent. And I can call them. So you see, I can use the IDI Core website to get phone numbers and call these owners, whether I stay at home or not. And so if, you know, so that's just one relative, but here is a list of every relative. Now, this just 2 days ago, because I work the hidden market all the time and I'm driving through neighborhoods, I talk to everybody in a neighborhood. People walking their dogs or jogging. Every door I knock on, I tell them, I say, listen, would you be interested in selling your home? And if they say, no, not me, I say, do you know anybody who might be? And they usually will tell you someone that might be getting ready to sell or something. And then I also ask them if they know any abandoned homes that I might be able to buy, and they point them out. So I get leads all the time, but this house, the guy died two or 3 days ago. A neighbor found him in his home, passed away. And she called me and said, listen, I just wanted to let you know that you were asking me about a house a couple of months ago, and I just wanted to let you know the guy passed away. And she actually called the guy's relatives to tell them about it. And the only relatives he has are out of state. One of them's in Colorado. And she said, well, I guess I'll have to come down and go to his funeral and check out the house. And she said, well, if you need to sell it, I know someone that wants to buy it. Also, when I was going to the grocery store with my stay-at-home order, which has been lifted now, but on the way to the grocery store, I found this property. And using IDI, I found out the owner was an out-of-state owner that lives up north, like New Jersey. And I contacted him by phone and said, would you be interested in selling this house? Now, this looks horrible, but it's in a really good area. And, you know, we investors, we love to fix up stuff like this. So what this means is that we're going to get something below market value that we can fix up and put it back on the tax rolls and help the neighborhood. We investors really help the neighborhoods. And I just read an article on May 5th by New Western, and it's giving us some optimism. It's saying that the housing inventory is at an all-time low. Buyer demand is rising as the restrictions lift. Interest rates are low, and stir-crazy buyers are hungry for what investors are offering. So I'm ready to turn it over to IDI, and I thank you for the opportunity to talk to your folks, and thank you very much, Ryan and Rebecca.
Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate that. Like the details there, and you guys got some golden nuggets right there as far as anybody that's looking for properties at this time. So I think it was probably about 2 years ago that we had one of our Shark Tank events, and a very respected investor, one of our buyers who was on our Shark Tank panel, he started showing Anish and myself, the other owner to the Broward Real Estate Investor Association, this software that he had on his phone for finding homeowners that are facing issues with their mortgages and things. And we were really intrigued. And fast forwarding to now, we have been partnering with IDI in South Florida. We use for our members and for our students, we use these services just like Tony just showed you. And today we have a special guest, Tyler Johnston from IDI. It's going to talk to you guys about what IDI is doing, what their products and services are. These guys are really the next generation and leading skip trace and investigative services and data. So without further ado, Tyler Johnston from IDI.
Thank you, Ryan. We definitely want to thank you guys for the time that you guys have provided here. Tony, we appreciate everything that you said about IDI, how the platform's kind of laid out. Ryan, I went ahead and shared this screen. Can you guys see this page?
Yes.
Perfect. So to give you guys a quick overview of how our system's set up, IDI, like Ryan said, we're a premier data provider. This is our flagship product, our IDI core product. We also have batching capabilities as well as API. So we do have different ways to obtain our data. And as you can see, we've got different searches set up here on our platform. So to kind of dive right in and kind of show you guys a little bit of what Tony showed, I wanted to pull up a search and kind of dig into some of the things that we can provide on our platform. So the first one I'm going to pull up Sandra Gibson, and all I can do is type in an address. So to kind of piggyback on what he was showing, the way this is set up, the red D is going to tell you that Sandra is deceased. So I know that's one of the key points you guys look for on the platform. We also make our information very easy for you guys to view. You can see I've got a current address. Our system goes as far as showing email. So if you guys do any type of emailing campaigns to reach out to people, everything is going to be listed here. Tony had mentioned liens and judgments or something. Anything on our site is going to, if it has a blue hyperlink, we can click on to pull more information. So if we look at the liens here, if I scroll down, it's going to give you all the information on the lien. I've got a lien, the lien type. I can tell you some details about it, the county it's in, the property, who the debtor of the actual lien is. Same thing is going to go with your judgments. Any judgments you can see here listed yes. I've actually got the judgment amount, the interest rate, court case number, who the attorneys are. You can see we get very in-depth in our detail. Moving right along, this is a big one I show all real estate investors, especially if you guys are going to houses, you're going to meet people. Criminal infractions. Always good to know who you're going to meet, who you're going to see. And I'll actually dig into a full criminal search here in a little bit. But as you see, Sandra Gibson did have a criminal record. I always tell people it's definitely worth running this search. You want to just have the peace of mind of who you're going to see. If we dig right into these addresses, here's the address that I searched. We have a little property tab here on the side. So you can actually see Sandra Gibson was the previous owner of this property. You can see these down here. It's not showing that. Sandra Gibson could have been a renter there. Anything along those lines. She could have been staying with somebody there. Anything that comes through our system that tied her to this platform. But this property will show that she was the previous owner. Neat thing about our platform, if you can click on anything, we're actually linked directly with Google Maps. So you just want to verify that you're pulling the right property. Here's the property right here. You can just look at it, pulls up the Google Maps for you real easy. This is the property that you guys are actually looking at, you're looking to invest in. Tony had mentioned our phone numbers are big. So if you guys, if you're not able to get out of the house right now, phones are huge. So If you're looking for phone numbers, we actually list these. And the way we list them is we use a proprietary confidence algorithm. It's going to actually run against the source, the frequency, and the last seen date. The first number listed is the most likely number in our system to get a hold of the individual. And we even list them as R for residential or C for cell phone. So you can see we have this number as the best number to get a hold of Sandra Gibson. Of course, she is deceased, so this number won't go through to her. But here's her residential number. We're going to have the last seen date in our system here for you. And we even have a little icon that'll tell you on the side what type of provider she's using for the phones. Move this out of the way. Over here, Tony mentioned the relatives. We also have associates with individuals. So we can see here, as he mentioned, if I wanted to pull up Bobby Gibson, he's a relative of Sandra Gibson. We're going to list the person's age here. So the number next to it is actually the person's age. Bobby Gibson, 31 years old. He might be a good person to look into this property. Sandra's deceased. Maybe the property got passed down to somebody. If we keep moving down, I mentioned the email addresses earlier. Here's all the email addresses associated with Sandra Gibson. So if you guys do any type of email blasting campaigns, definitely emails are great here. And then we're going to have our property tab. Property tab's very neat. It's going to actually get very in-depth on all the information. So here's the property we're looking at here was the Bramall Street. We're going to tell you actually who the current owner is now. We get down as far as the parcel number, the year the property was built, what type of residency it is. We'll even get into the latest assessment, total value, the land value. We'll tell you the size in square feet. If it's been a resale, anything like that is listed here in our transaction history for the property. Now, kind of jumping right along, I want to pull up another search for you. Another search that people can help for. I'm going to pull up John Smith. And all you know is John Smith if he lives in Wellington, Florida. When I run this search, people always question, it pulls up 44 results. People's question always is this going to be 44 different searches I ran? This is just going to be one search. Now, typically you would have to scroll through each page looking for the correct John Smith. Neat thing about our system is we've implemented this green bar, which is our search within results feature. If I know any information regarding John Smith, and let's say I know that he has a relative named Zola, as I type in Zola, it narrows it down from those 44 just to this John Smith here I'm looking for. So if you don't have full information on somebody, this is definitely a great search. We can type in partial information here. And as you see, I pulled up the John Smith. It linked this just by typing in a partial relative name. And that goes for anything. If I would have typed in a partial address, a partial phone number, we can narrow down through our system. So that's one great feature that it'll show you guys. I know I had mentioned the criminal information. This is always going to be big for people. Like I said, you just want to make sure the person you're going to meet is who they say they are and that you're going to be safe going to actually meet this person. Here's a search on Terry Basil. As you can see, I've got a mugshot here. If the counties release mugshots, we will have them on our site. So if you guys were going to meet Basil Terry, might want to just run this search real quick, check on everything. As you can see, we've got all the charges here. He has a theft charge, criminal damage, aggravated burglary, terroristic threat, murder in the first degree. It's great to run these searches just so you know who you're dealing with. Maybe you want to go with somebody else to this property. Maybe you don't want to go meet them alone, or maybe you guys just don't want to do business at all with this person. A lot of people are running this search. It's definitely great. Obviously, safety is going to be the #1 thing for you guys. If I go back here to the main page, you can see expanded person search is what a lot of people will run. We do have different searches. We have what's called a reverse phone search. If all you had was a phone number for an individual, let's say they called in, or maybe you just had a phone number, we can run that and pull a full profile on an individual just by doing a reverse phone search. One last little thing I wanted to show you guys is one more search to actually pull up. I know you guys mentioned bankruptcy was a big thing for you. So I want to kind of show you guys what our bankruptcy reports actually look like here. And if I pull up this search here, here's a search on Ronald Biggerstaff. As you see, page is set up the same way. Here's a quick example. We do have some cell phones listed here for Ronald as well as some residential. And he actually has a bankruptcy report. So we have it flagged here. It tells you the last time he filed bankruptcy. If I pull all this information up, we get in depth as well here. We're going to tell you what chapter bankruptcy he filed, the filing date, there's the status of it, who the attorney is, the debtor, the trustee. So if you guys do focus on any type of bankruptcies, things like that, these are some detailed reports here that we have for you. Can definitely help you guys out on this. Last two little features before I turn it back over to Ryan. We do have a history tab. Neat thing with our history tab, it's going to store your last 300 searches or your last 30 days worth of searches. So let's say I need to pull up a search from the past. Here's one on Sandra Gibson, the first search we ran. If you weren't able, you didn't capture something, all you have to do is click and drag. All the information pops back up on the screen for you. We even have a little print icon here. If you want to print this out, save it as a PDF, go ahead and do that. That way you guys have all the information there for you. And then the last part is just our coverage map. This is going to show you where we pull some of our criminal coverage from. So down here, state of Florida, all you would do is click on your state. You can see all the different sources and all the counties where we're going to pull all of our criminal coverage from. That goes with every state on here. We have criminal coverage in all the states. So as you guys click on those, you can get detailed into where we're going to pull our coverage from. Ryan, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, I think we want to open up, Tyler, you have time for a few questions?
Definitely, will do.
Okay, Rebecca, do we have any questions that have come in? I have a couple of questions that aren't related to IDI that I need to ask, but are there any other questions that anybody has?
A couple of the top 10 questions, Ryan, for Tyler, and then I do have a couple for Tony as well. For does IDI cover the Chicagoland area? I know sometimes that can be a challenge.
Yes, we cover in all 50 states, so we'll have information for everybody.
And what about small areas who may or may not be the best about reporting their information online? They don't have the most robust systems for their counties.
So we're going to have for all the counties. Now, I don't want to get into a percentage. I want to say it's 95, 98% of the adult population. Let me touch on that as well. It has to be an adult individual that we'll have a profile for. So we're going to pull from, hundreds of sources, public, all kind of different sources we pull from. We use a algorithm, kind of source everything together. Times that I haven't seen an individual on here, somebody just turns 18. They don't have they might still live at home. They don't have a credit card. They don't have anything that's tied to them yet. That could be an instance where we might not have on somebody, but it's not going to be where we don't have information for a county.
Perfect. Next question. If you're using the green bar for the more search results within a search, that doesn't count against your search. Is that correct?
Correct. So the main search would be, is we ran this expanded person search here. This is the search we ran. And to kind of dig in and touch on that as well, somebody also might have a question on this. If I search John Smith, as you guys can guess, I don't know how many John Smiths there are in the United States. We show over 100 records matched. We're going to have to enter some additional criteria here to further this down. This would not count as a search. We have a no hit, no fee policy. So if we don't return something, that doesn't count as a search for you.
Okay, perfect. Next question. What about like qualifying to use this system? Other systems that they have seen that are somewhat similar, they've had to go through this major process to make sure that they're certified with their offices being compliant and multiple steps. What does that look like for you?
Definitely. Great question. So we actually launched this product for real estate investors. We want you guys to have access to this system. You guys are able to use a home address to apply. Only thing that we're going to require from you guys is you have an active business. We want to make sure your LLC is active. You guys are in good standings. We do have an application process. And I think Ryan will get into some more detail about that. We've got a flyer coming out. We've actually specified a URL specifically for the National REIA. So I'll have all you guys go through that. It's going to give me your information. I'll personally reach out to each and every one of you. I'll get you over the application. It's a 1.5-page application, very, very quick. But we don't require the office space like the question had mentioned. We're not going to make you guys jump through all kind of hoops. We want you guys to have this product. I've been working with Tony as well as Ryan. Tony got up and running on our platform. It's going to take about a day to 2 days to get the application approved. But yes, so we're not going to make them jump through any type of hoops or, anything crazy on that end.
Okay, perfect. Next question. There's someone that's on the call that's a local skip tracer in Kentucky. Wants to know if you have any kind of idea of your accuracy compared to TLO, Locate Plus, or Deal Machine.
Definitely. So a little bit about IDI. We actually have the executive team that helped architect the LexisNexis platform. When that got sold off, they created the TLO platform, which he mentioned. The guys got back together for a third time. They created IDI. So we're very familiar with the competitors out there. We have, we definitely have the best phone numbers in the market. We'll rank ourselves up there. We've gone head to head in competitions, and we win all the time on those. So as far as where we rank ourselves, we're definitely very high up there. And we even offer a free test to everybody. So anybody who wants to test this product out, we'll give you guys 5 days or 50 free searches, whichever comes first, to kind of let you guys evaluate this data, firsthand. You guys can run your searches. You can see the data is going to speak for itself.
And what about if they're doing a decent volume and they want to export the data to Excel? Can they do that?
Perfect. So that's going to be either our batch or API services. I wanted to just show you guys the IDI core first. This is just going to be a breakdown of the data we have. But yes, we do have, if they have Excel files, we do have batching services as well as APIs. So we can run those through to kind of give you guys everyone's question is on if they batch is what the turnaround time is. It'll take us around an hour to run 50,000 records. So, we can run any list very, very quick, get the data back over to you. It's a very easy process, and we'll even offer a test of our batch services as well.
Okay. And is there an IDI mobile app?
It's not going to be a mobile app, but they're able to access this platform from their mobile phone. So if they're driving around, want to type in the address, they can definitely type that in through this expanded person search. They can pull up the information just like I did here from their phone.
Someone asked what is GLB, FDCPA, and FRCA policies?
So that's going to be different data permissions that we have. So GLBA data, what they're asking, this is non-GLBA data. You're able to use this data that we're providing you for marketing purposes. You guys are able to reach out to these. That's why we built this product just for real estate. The other question was FCRA data.
The way they write it is FDCPA, and then the last one FRCA, which I assume they mean the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Definitely.
And they just
so we're not FCRA our data, so you're not able to use anything you find on here, hiring, firing decision, things like that. You're able to use our platform for an ID verification. Somebody, if you're using it for a hiring purpose, you can verify the information on the application is accurate, but you can't make a decision based on the information that you gather through IDI Core.
And I assume you can't make a rental decision in terms of because of any credit or criminal based on this information as well.
Correct.
I don't know what FDCPA is. I'm sorry.
I might lean on Scott for this one.
Yes, hi. I'm not certain what that is either. I'm not sure what they're referring to.
It may be mistyped as well. So moving on. How is this compliant with do not call guidelines?
So we don't scrub against the do not call list. We don't scrub against that. We tell people definitely scrub against that on your end. But like I said, the information we do provide here, you are able to reach out for marketing purposes.
How often is the data updated?
Everything on our system's updated on a different frequency. For example, bankruptcies and deceased, we update daily. Typically, the longest it takes something to update in our system would be 30 days. That's when we get our refresh, but everything comes through on different time frames. So it would kind of depend on what data set, as well as when that has been reported and when we receive the information.
And I don't quite understand this question. Maybe you can understand better than I do. Is this suitable for subscription by someone such as myself? I often refer my clients to batch skip tracing resources before contacting me.
Can you repeat that one more time for me?
Is this suitable for subscription by someone such as myself? I often refer my clients to batch skip tracing resources before contacting me.
I don't know if they're asking if we can do batching capabilities, if we have
Yeah.
subscriptions for that.
That went to Lori and not to me. If someone if they could retype that question, maybe I'm just not asking it correctly. Next question. We've got a lot, Tyler, so sorry.
That's all right.
But want to make sure that we take care of our people here. Can you search for recent properties in probate?
Recent properties and probate. Don't think that's going to be a search you can run. If they had the property, yes, we can pull it, but we don't do list generation. So we couldn't run like a zip code to see what properties are in probate or anything like that.
Oh, and FDCPA is Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, is what they were asking. Is it compliant with the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act? And I'm going to assume that I'm not going to assume anything. I'm going to ask you to address that.
Scott, I'm going to lean back to you on that one. Is that something we need to get back with them on?
No, we're not, because this is not a regulated product, right? So what we're talking about, FDCPA, GLBA, FCRA, those are all regulated bodies, right, that actually govern how this information is disseminated and how it's being used. So it's very important to understand that this data set that's being presented today does not fall under any of those governing bodies, because it is a product that has been developed specifically for marketing purposes. Under GLBA, you have restrictions that limit you from marketing, right? So you cannot use GLBA data for marketing purposes. We have that product, but it's specifically for risk mitigation, identity verification, fraud prevention, etc. This is for marketing. That's what this is. Under GLBA, even, you can't extend credit. You can't go and move through housing approval. You can't provide or make a decision on employment. Those are the restrictions for GLBA. FCRA allows you to do that. So the big difference that you can remember is FCRA, FDCPA, that requires consent, okay? There's a consent portion of that where the person that you're actually working with has to sign some kind of a documentation that you're going to run their credit, right? That's an FCRA product. GLBA doesn't have any kind of a consent requirement. It has boundaries on how the data can be used, but GLBA is used by businesses, across the country that are using, again, for like risk mitigation, fraud prevention, etc. This product is not governed under any body. It can actually be used for marketing. And like Tyler said before, we do not scrub this against any kind of do not call list. That would be something that would fall on you as a user.
Okay, back to the question before, for the gentleman or lady that is a skip tracer. They say that they are always looking for better resources than the ones they already use. Would this be suitable for a subscription for someone such as themselves? They often do a batch skip tracing process before for their clients before they contact them.
Definitely. This sounds like definitely a play for them. From what I'm picking up is they are looking to be possibly a reseller, that they are going to have, they wouldn't be the end user, that they would just be the middleman, and they have clients that they run lists for. If that's the case, then that is correct.
So Tyler, I'm just going to tell them that they need to contact you directly. The flyer that will be sent out as a follow-up to this will have the information where they can do that. And
Definitely.
I think you can answer their question more specifically. One more question. Can this be integrated with Salesforce?
I'm guessing if they're going to tie in, that would be more of an API play, that we can definitely tie in to any type of CRM through an API. So that's definitely just a different way to obtain our data, but it's definitely doable.
Salesforce generally has a really good, robust API for that. So multiple questions on cost.
So cost, We've actually worked with Ryan. We've worked with Rebecca, Lori. We've gone back and forth on pricing. They definitely beat us up a little bit to get you guys the best possible price we have. So we're actually offering a package just for you guys. That's why we're going to have this URL. We're offering 100 searches on our IDI core platform for $50 per month.
Unbelievable. And then one last question. Can I go to Tony really quick before I hand back to Ryan? Tony, we had a question about the letters that you send. They wanted to know if those are printed or handwritten, sir.
Those are printed. I print them because I just don't have time to handwrite them, but if they want to, they can. But I get good enough response with printed. I do handwrite my envelopes.
Awesome. I think that's it. I hope I've covered all of the questions that we've gotten. There were quite a few, but Ryan, I'm going to hand back over to you, sir.
I've got two other questions. And before I answer these questions, just also as a user and we've been working with IDI for a while, when we talk about, you guys were asking about the accuracy of the data. The reason why we stopped looking for any other skip tracing services or any other data companies is because their data is the best. The funny thing is that when I called a few other national people, before we started working with them, and when they would finally tell me where they get their data from, it was all coming from IDI. So you guys are getting at the top of the list here. Their information is incredible. We've been using them for a couple of years now, and I couldn't be more happy with the accuracy, not just how accurate it is, but also how easy it is to use the software. I mean, the demonstration that these guys did was amazing. So two quick questions. Charles, I'm going to put this first one to you, and also I'm going to put this to Tony as well. First part of the question, just to make sure, general contractors are essential workers, correct?
Charles?
That depends on what they're actually doing.
Okay.
So an independent contractor could be a whole variety of things. If it's independent contractor that does nails, no, they're not. Now, if it's the kind that does nails that hold wood together, that would be.
Okay.
So, it depends on what they are. If it's in house,
the contractors they're talking about is for GCs for rehabbing properties right now. So
absolutely. And on our website under the COVID-19, we do have a banner. We do have specifically the CISA rules that actually show what the actual specific positions are and jobs are.
Right. And then the other question is and this might be also something that Tony can answer as well, because both Tony and Charles are investors, and myself. What do you guys think in regards to rehab projects slowing down, as there are going to be a lot of GCs that are out of work right now? I think this question might be coming from New York.
Well, I'm Tony. I think I see a lot here. I'm speaking for the state of Georgia, but I'm seeing a lot of rehabbing going on. I'm seeing a lot of new construction, mainly for commercial buildings, which surprises me. But I'm seeing a lot of work happening all around me.
Right.
I think what people have to realize, and Charles, what you had something you wanted to
No, I was going to say, we were just working on an article that's going to be coming out shortly. And one of the things we talked about was the economics behind what we're seeing as a change. Even if we lost 20% of the demand that was out there from the millennials moving into the kind of single family market, there's still an overwhelming demand and a lack of inventory. So the rehab in that market is substantial. And especially with people who've been pent up, there's pent up demand there that hasn't been able to be accessed. And so I think you're going to see a huge demand, especially as people are able to get out and go find places. People who've been staying in apartments because they want to, they're staying in a rental because they want to, are now saying, they're talking about future lock-ins or lockdowns. I want to be someplace bigger. I want to be someplace where I've got a pool. I want to be someplace where I've got yard. So look for a lot of those kind of changes coming, folks.
Yeah.
The only thing I would add to that, though, really quickly, guys, is remember, more than ever, it's all local.
Yeah.
So stay connected to your local REIA groups, because things in your market, just because of one, administratively things could be different. Courthouses could be having a hard time issuing building permits, things like that. Stay connected to your REIA groups and depend on each other and the resources that you have that can get you further along in it. So maybe somebody knows somebody in the building permit department or something like that. So if you want to keep going, make sure that you work your network more than ever before right now. I think that's going to be incredibly important, because the areas where it's been pockets of the worst of the problem, of the crisis, are going to have obviously a little harder time, I think, getting back to quote unquote normal again.
I agree. And then the last question is will it be easier to find deals right now for smaller commercial buildings, 6 to 12 units? And I don't know if Tony or Charles wants to chime in on that. My 2 cents on that is that I believe that the majority of people that are going to be losing their properties, first and foremost, are going to be single family homes, people with mortgages and families, and not necessarily income producing prices. That would be my opinion on that. Charles, what do you think?
I'm going to go back to something Tony said, and I like the way he says it, which is look for places that have that, lack of pride of ownership. That is going to be your telltale sign right there. Drive your community, exactly as Tony said. I mean, that's why he's the guru on this. That's exactly it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate everybody.
One last thing. I'm so sorry. Scott wanted to answer some questions that we've seen come up in the chat bar here on pricing. We've got a question on the repeat, and Scott said that he'd like to chime in, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rebecca. Again, I wanted to thank you guys. I didn't get a chance to do that. I wanted to thank you so much for allowing us to go ahead and present to your group. We're very excited to go ahead and provide this 50% special to you guys. I wanted to let everyone know that there will be a announcement coming, I think, by email. Rebecca will be sending one out to all the membership. There is a very specific URL that you're going to have to use to go ahead and get access to this particular price point. So as much as we want to do business with you, we're asking that you don't go ahead and apply directly, that there is a very specific way to go ahead and submit your request. We will immediately follow up, but it shares with us that you're part of this group. So, and this is the special pricing that we are actually providing to this group. So again, once you get that, and you may have a lot more questions, we really kind of touched the tip of the iceberg here. So when you do call, those of you who are interested, we're going to spend some time with you. We're going to learn more about your business. We want to learn more about your business and what you're doing. We're going to tailor something for you, right? If the special that we offered isn't something that you're looking for, but you're looking for something else, we're going to talk through that, right? So that was, again, to go ahead and just kind of give you an overview of what it is we're doing. Very much appreciate the time today. I think that you all probably see value, but we're really looking forward to working with each of you independently, and we'll tailor something for your business. Thank you, Rebecca.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Scott. And I'll tell you guys this too, is that, IDI is a company that is a little bit different in regards to other companies and organizations that we've approached for products and services. And just like Scott said, they really sat with us and listened to our business. What do we do? And, we weren't the first ones in real estate to approach them, of course, but just understanding the fact that, if you call them, let them know what you're looking for, what type of solutions that, what problems that you have and you need a solution to, they'll put that together for you. They're very, very smart guys. So, so you guys will be able to deal direct with that and any questions that you guys have. Again, thank you, Scott Smith and Tyler Johnston, for taking the time today, showing us IDI. We're really excited about this, guys. And all of you guys that are on this call today, whatever business that you're in relating into real estate, or at least related to real estate, these services are going to be something that you're going to want to get on because this market right now, we're all going to need as much data as possible. So it's going to be very important. Thanks again to Charles Tassel for his updates and his take on the COVID-19 legislation. Tony Youngs, we appreciated hearing from you today as well, sir. And thank you, as always, to our Executive Director, Rebecca McLean, our Director of Operations, Lori Hudson, and the rest of the team from National REIA. As we took the poll earlier, in case you guys were not on the call in the beginning, we will be now doing this call every 2 weeks. So the next call, I believe, is going to be on the 22nd. So we will see you guys at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, May 22nd. Everybody be safe and stay healthy and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Wayne.